Today we are going to be talking about the Phalanocopterus roseus, which is also known as the greater flamingo. My name is Ariel, and let's get started. So we're going to be talking about this flamingo. They reside or are native in the Middle East, Asia, Africa, and Australia. On this map that you see on the slide, where the map is green, they're native, and in blue, this is where they are occasionally nesting and have a very rare distribution in. So you can see a lot of Asia and a lot of Africa and Australia are covered by these flamingos, as they are known as to be the largest spread population of flamingos on the earth right now. As far as their distribution goes, and their movement, these flamingos do not move a lot. Usually they'll settle down in one place, although they don't have a home range, and they'll stay there as long as there's a heterogeneous availability and distribution of food. So what that means, as long as there's different varieties and like different types of food that they can choose from, they eat shrimp and they eat crayfish and krill and also algae. So as long as there's just a variety, a heterogeneous availability of food, then they will stay in an area. And as long as there's areas where they can breed, they will stay there as well. And so what we see is these flamingos usually do not move a whole lot. They don't fly a whole lot. They don't migrate a whole lot, but they do migrate when it's necessary. So some characteristics about this flamingo, you'll see the greater flamingo in the top right of this picture. They do have the tallest legs and the longest neck. They are really tall. They all have black-tipped bills. These flamingos, since they do eat shrimp-like crustaceans, those are responsible for their pink color, and the morphology of their bill is what allows them to eat small organisms in the shallow waters that they reside in. So things like plankton, tiny fish, larvae, and even algae are all taken in. This beak acts like a filter, so they'll put their head underwater, and then what happens is they suck in everything and then filter out the mud and the water in order to just get those nutrients in there and get those nutrient sources. Where they live, it can be elevations of 0 to 4,500 meters, so a very large variety as long as they are by a salty water. So they'll reside in shallow waters of lagoons, lakes, estuaries, muddy beaches, anywhere that has salty waters, with, like it says on the slide, up to a pH of 11. So we're really looking for some salty waters and for really basic contents in the waters. And this is because of the availability of their dietary nutrients. So where you'll find a lot of these shrimp is going to be in salty waters, and a lot of the small fish are going to be in those salty waters, so they stay there as well. And it's pretty perfect for laying their young. And so they live in temperate and tropical terrestrial regions, and they do reside in that brackish, very basic acidity water. So the evolution of these flamingos, this is a lot of information I got from this was from Torres et al. 2014. So basically, according to mitochondrial DNA substitution models, the crown clade is what we call all of the flamingo clade, so including the American greater, Chilean, lesser, Andean, and James's flamingo is all called the crown clade, diverged about 3 to 6.5 million years ago. And then the deep and shallow keeled clades, both of those that you see on the screen, they diverged 1.7 to 3.9 million years ago. And then in the shallow clade, the greater and American flamingos diverged about 0.9 to 1.5 million years ago. And then in the deep clade, the Andean and James's flamingo diverged about 0.5 to 2.5 million years ago. So really interesting stuff, but they have been around for a while, and then there's just a lot of evidence that needs to be found in order to really pinpoint when these clades diverged, as well as find a common ancestor for these clades, because there's still ongoing research about where these clades diverged and what time they did, and what even is the common ancestor of the phoenicoptiforms and the posedipocoptiforms. Sorry. And so after a lot of research on this topic from Olson and Fiducia in 1980 and their research from the Smithsonian Institute, on the screen you'll see this word that I can't pronounce. This is the family that they have been said to have evolved from. But like I said, this is still in research right now, and so there's not really a distinct common ancestor that we can point to. But a lot of this research is in the common bone and beak structures of these individuals. And so just looking at like wingspan, beak structure, just seeing everything that we can relate to and find similar in these birds, and along with going into mitochondrial DNA substitution, or even just looking at the entire DNA and seeing where we can pinpoint similarities or dissimilarities. As far as their status in population, the greater flamingo is not extinct at all. In fact, the population is increasing as we speak for the greater flamingo, because they have a lot of resources at their availability, whereas other flamingos from the same family, as in Chilean flamingos, lesser flamingos, and Andean flamingos, are vulnerable and their populations are declining. The Chilean flamingos and the lesser flamingos are near threatened status, so they're near threatened but not totally in danger of being wiped out or extinct. And the Andean flamingos are in the endangered status. This is because a lot of the habitat where the Andean flamingos and as well as the Chilean flamingos are living right now, they are in areas where there are anthropogenic structures being built. And so having these structures being built where they're living really inhibits their way of life. And a lot of what this inhibits is the breeding of the flamingos. And so when there's anthropogenic structures being built on the coasts and beaches that these flamingos inhabit, then they move away and they are not able to reproduce, and they only reproduce once a year. So this is really important in maintaining that population, and they don't get to do that if there's structures being built there. Also, these flamingos are vulnerable to pollution in waters because they are directly impacted, because their diet is directly from the water. And so if these waters are polluted, then we may see a decline in the flamingo population as well. So I hope this was very informational for you and you learned a lot more about flamingos. These are some of the sources that I used. If you would like to see any of these, let me know and I can gather my information for you. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching.